Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Ellie. It is so good to see you again, my friend.
You too.
It's been a while since we've gotten to talk.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, one or two things have happened since the last time we've spoken. Um,
I'm
and, you
sorry,
know,
Nick.
I want to get into a little bit and get up to date with you on some of the latest from and around what's going on with the Epstein files and or Trump files. Um,
Yeah,
some
right?
of
The
the
Trump files and Epstein's in them. I feel like I coined that like, I don't know,
you and I
3 months
talked about
ago.
that a while ago. Yeah,
Yeah, and now it's like trendy. I
yeah.
can go back
You
and
know what?
find my original text.
They're the Trump files. It's
They're
the
the Trump
Trump
files.
files with Epstein inside it. Trump
Yeah.
was the target all along. I think. Like,
I mean,
I think
yeah,
Trump was just the target.
he just hated him so much at the end. I'm learning a lot from the Bannon emails about what he actually like. I think there was a little bit of competitiveness, obviously, but
Oh
then
yeah.
then it just turned into, I mean, so catty. Like it's really a beautiful thing to read how catty these emails get. It's a very weird relationship. I'm compiling it all. There's so many emails, but I'm compiling it all, and I'm gonna do like a 3-parter Substack that's just the emails between Bannon and Epstein because they're fun. They're
That's
wild.
fantastic.
They're stupid and awful, but also fun.
And that's, you know what, once you put those out, I think I'll just hop on to a live and just read all of them and
Yeah,
just
go for it
read the
because
emails.
they're so different. And I was talking about this with Fred last night. Like, if you read through like the older emails that are all the stuff from the JP Morgan stuff, there are all these people along the way who are very enamored with Epstein and became like his top dogs. So he always has a top guy who's his best friend of the time. Trump was that for a long time. And then he always has a top woman who's like his
Hmm.
top assistant, who's his Ghislaine Maxwell, Sarah Kellen. He always has one of each. And normally, all these people are very kind of gushing in the emails, like, "What did you think? How was that? Did you like it? Do you want to meet up?" Like even like Jez Staley just sounds like a sad, submissive partner after a while. But then you get Bannon in there, and it's a like some sort of weird reversal happens. Like they kind of start out slow, and at some point, Epstein becomes Bannon's bitch, which I didn't expect. Because Epstein's always like, people are always very, oh, what are you doing today? And he responds like, buck up, get over it, like get back to work, a little single. And in this one, it's like he's writing in his diary. He's like, so multiple O's, like, what are you doing today? You want to meet up? Hey, you didn't email me back last night. Are you okay? Like, it's a very different dynamic, and I don't understand it.
They had a man crush, it sounds
They
like,
did. I
and
think
like bromance, but in like
they had a
the
bromance for sure.
grossest way possible.
Yeah,
Like,
I wrote
because
about the bromance like 2 months ago, I think. I wrote an article about this. Before we had all these emails, we knew that there were videos that that Bannon thought he was this beautiful filmmaker and he was magnificent and he made this movie about Trump and he's gushing and trying to get Epstein to come to it. And Epstein's like, I can't come to your movie, like I'm under surveillance. Um, and then it sort of flipped at some point, and like Epstein was like, "Hey man, what are you doing this weekend? You want to hang out?" And it's like, when did that happen, and why did that happen? Like, where was that break? And I'm trying to figure that out.
I cannot wait to figure it out then. I can't wait for
Yeah,
you to figure it out and talk
it's
about
a
it
lot. There's a
because
lot of emails.
it's gonna you're gonna find it at some point. So
Yeah.
can you, I know everybody does know who you are,
Oh, yeah.
because you're amazing.
Thank you.
But can you reintroduce yourself a little bit, and tell everyone like what your background is a little into, like, how you got into this because you're a
Mhm.
transcriber.
Right.
And I think that's super important to the work you're doing. And you come at it at a very, you're very detailed, but you're also very plain spoken when you
Mhm.
talk about it. And I think you have a really good quality on those.
Thank you. I think a lot of this was happenstance or just timing. I'm not a journalist, and the reason why I say I'm not a journalist is I work with a lot of journalists who have like the student loans to show for it, and I still separate myself. I still consider myself to be a storyteller, and if those stories are nonfiction and help push something forward to the forefront, then so be it. Um, yes, I came at this. I own a small business. I've been a transcriber since 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. And so before I even knew who Epstein was, I was like transcribing the interviews for the Weinstein trial, or like Woody Allen's Mia Farrow, and like that kind of, similar veins and similar stories, and then you kind of discover later on that all these people were in the same circles. And so, yeah, part of my work is being very meticulous. Part of that is being a transcriber. Part of that is owning a small business and wanting people to come back and earning their trust. And so I've done off the record NDAs for years. I've worked with some very critical people at the New York Times for a long time and different newspapers. But I've always been privately, I've always been a writer. And I wrote a novel 3 years ago, and then I wrote another one, and it was just kind of this really frustrating course. If you've ever tried to publish a book, it's maddening and frustrating, and doesn't make sense, and it's like beating yourself in the head every night trying to get someone to read the thing that you wrote. And so someone told me, hey, just take a break, come to Substack, try it out. And I think I just got here at the right time. I think the timing was part of it. And I was going through like bigger documents and trying to simplify them for people because I'm very politically passionate, and I was working on the big beautiful bill stuff, and I was working on the Project 2025, and I was just trying to simplify things for people to understand. And so along comes the Epstein stuff, and I was like, this stuff is really spread out all over the internet. Let's just simplify it and put it all in one place. And I did, and it just like took off like wildfire. And I thought maybe that's what people want to read about. And so now that's what I'm writing about all the time, which
That's
I
yeah,
didn't expect to be here. I'm brand new here. Like when people tell me, like Zev tells me he's been doing this for like 15 years, I'm just like, man, I've been doing this since July. Like I have, like, this is, which also makes it still very interesting to me because like I didn't know this information months ago. I didn't know. It's like all this stuff has been going on, like all Americans, kind of behind our backs, and to realize that there are details and clues and things that you can solve out there, and you can just do it from your computer with some documents if you just open them up. That's really fascinating. The puzzle aspect of that is really fascinating. But then you start to meet the people involved, and it becomes more of a passion project that you want this to stop, and you don't want it to happen to your kids, but you also want to help the people involved who've been doing this for 30 years, unlike me. So,
yeah,
yeah, so that's kind of how I got here, and now I go into the kind of nerdy, nitty gritty analytical side where I'm going through documents and I'm finding numbers and I'm finding these little tidbits that are missed, because I don't use AI to scan stuff. I just won't do it. And so I will read every bit that is published or public. I will read it all. It will take me a long time, but I will read every word because there are really, really important things in there that have gotten missed, and I don't want to miss them.
yeah. And I think that's your superpower is you're meticulous, but you're also very, just like I said, it's plain spoken about it. You put down the facts, you
Mhm.
put down the information, you don't put your spin on like the
Mhm.
details that are coming out on like
Right,
you add detail and you add information, and yeah, you have your own personal biases just like all of us
right,
do.
right,
But you don't try and advocate for a bias on the information,
right.
you just put
I'm
it
not
out
going to
in a way that's
advocate for my
consumable.
opinions. Right.
Yeah,
I try to be, and if I'm not, I ask people to like let me know. But I really try to clarify where I'm stating opinions versus where I'm stating documented fact.
yeah,
The documented facts are the good stuff, right? Like, for example, I found an email deep in these last, pile of files that was from Alan Dershowitz that absolutely blew a hole into his stories that he's innocent and never hurt women. Like it was a critical detail that was plain and on the page and factual and in front of me, and I could be like, oh, I can now present this to the world as a piece of evidence that he was lying the whole time. Like those are the good things that you can come across, and that's a good night when you're just scanning through all these really dull documents, and then something like that flies out and you go, thank you, we're going to post
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think so. Let's talk about the Alan Dershowitz one for a
Let's do
moment,
that.
because I think that's a big piece that came out.
Right.
Um, And I'm going to try and see if I can go back in your timeline because you
Yeah,
post a
it's
lot.
way
So
down.
it's always
Yeah, I do post a lot.
um, just like I do. It's hard to scroll back sometimes.
Yeah.
But I want to pull up the email that you found around Alan Dershowitz and Virginia Giuffre. And can you talk about how or what you found and identified and
Mhm.
um, what you think it might actually mean? Um,
Yeah. It's tough because I'm still a very small platform. I think I'm getting closer to the polls and I'm getting closer to people who have bigger platforms and bigger voices. And so when I find something like this, I really make a big effort to like give it as many places as I can because I'm not looking for a scoop, but I'm just looking to like make information publicly available and find justice and consequence and all those kinds of things. So what I found, backing up, I'm not we all, a lot of us read Virginia's book, Nobody's Girl, that came out last month. Um, Not everybody could read it because it's extremely triggering, and that's understandable. But in the book, she talks about something that I had already heard. I already knew this about her, but that originally in her lawsuit, she had named Alan Dershowitz as one of her abusers and which is not unlikely. He was very close with Jeffrey Epstein. He was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. He made $4 million off Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, he's on the island. He's everywhere that Epstein was. Plus, he has the reputation of being around a lot of really shady individuals and being their lawyer. Um,
yeah.
so she named him as being one of her sexual abusers, which is not surprising. Like none of us were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that." Like it's not
Yeah.
such. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
didn't shock me. Um, After a bit, he countersued her. And then eventually she came out with a public statement that said, I named him in error. I misidentified him. I was young. I was traumatized, blah, 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 blah. When I read that, I was like, there's no effing way. There's just no way that that is true. Because, you will hear from many, many survivors that you don't forget a face who's abusing you. You just don't forget that face.
Yeah.
But also, like, she's never, ever, ever said that about anyone else. Like, she's never come out and made a public statement going, I was wrong. I misidentified. Like, that's never happened in the history of the Epstein files. Didn't happen, except for that one guy who's a powerful lawyer and who's close to very powerful men. There you go. There's the email. So I went back and I'm going through these documents and I found this email in the latest document drop. This is the statement from Alan Dershowitz to Virginia's lawyer saying, this is what she has to say to clear me. Now, David Boies was Virginia's lawyer, but he was also Weinstein's lawyer. He was also, I believe, Trump's lawyer at some point. I could be wrong about that. He's not a good person. He wasn't a good lawyer for her. She didn't have access to a lot of support and financial support. Like he's kind of a guy who jumps on publicity cases. He's not somebody who's like pro bono. I want to help you because it's the right thing to do. So David
Yeah.
Boies is not a good guy. So Dershowitz writes this email and says, "This is what she's going to say," and this is also what she said in her book. She said, "I was wrong. I misidentified." And here is the exact statement that she had to say, and this proves that she was under threat from Dershowitz, that she was forced to say that. And so when I read that, I took it back to Maria Farmer, who I know, and I said, "How do you feel about this? What is this?" And she said, "Yeah, we all knew that." And I said, "Can you send this to her brother, to Virginia's brother?" She said, "Yes." I mean, yes, we need receipts. That's the main thing. Is like,
Yeah.
right, believing women is one thing, but these powerful men either don't believe them or were complicit. And so we need receipts. We need things like this that prove that Virginia was right. We need it on paper. We need it documented because this is an actual piece of information that we can say, hey, look at this. This proves that she said something. This proves the timeline where she retracted it. And this is why she retracted it and why she didn't do it for anybody else. He's trying to do this kind of thing again right now. And so there is more to come on Alan Dershowitz in the near future because he He's backed into a corner with these files being released. He's not a safe guy. He's on Substack, believe it or not. I have him blocked. Many people have him blocked. I do not need him reading my writing and coming after me. But
Yeah.
he is a bad, bad guy. He is an untrustworthy guy. He follows the money. He's an ambulance chaser for the wealthy, rich, evil in America and across the world. So, but this was just a beautiful example that we can prove that these women are telling the truth. We can prove that these men did these things to them, and they have a paper trail, which,
Yeah.
God bless. What an idiot.
Yeah, thank God for that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
believe in God, but thank God for that. Like, thank
Mm-hmm.
you for being so dumb enough to at least put it in emails and make sure
Yeah.
we all could eventually find it and write down your evidence of
Right.
criminal acts. And that's, Ellie, you make a really good point, is we need proof,
Mm-hmm.
because we need to hold the folks who have perpetrated these acts accountable. And the only way to do that in our system is through legal action. And we have to
Right.
have physical evidence and proof. And these women are going to have to relive so much trauma over and over and over again, and are
Mm-hmm.
continuing to relive so much trauma because of this. And we have to and that's one of the things I know, Ellie, you maintain a lot of, is like, and that I try and maintain here at Banner and Backbone, is it's about the women, it's about the survivors, those girls, and probably boys in there too.
Yeah.
um, is it's about them, and it's about holding those accountable so this
Right.
can never happen again, so we never have to ask the question of, when does a victim become a perpetrator? Well,
Right.
the better question is, how do we stop the victim from ever being victimized?
Right. Yeah.
And we have the answers here.
Right. Because until there's justice and consequences and people are completely like wiped off, until we start canceling every single person in that file,
Mhm.
this continues, and this is still happening. This is happening today in America and around the world. This is still happening. These are still happening to girls. Girls are still being shipped around the world, and boys too, but being
Mhm.
shipped around the world to people's islands and different places for money and for their pleasure. Like this hasn't stopped with Epstein for sure.
No.
And he was doing this until the day he died. I have verification for that. So um, we have to like blow this open, and it's so good that it's being public, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're not asking for the Epstein files to be released to like the lawyers. We're asking it to be made public, because when you make these things public, you have accountability on a global scale. Because let me tell you how many armchair detectives are out there doing the same thing that I'm doing, scanning through every single line of these files and looking for clues.
Yep.
People are very smart and they have a lot of time on their hands. And so, because not all people who work in the legal realm, Alan Dershowitz, are good people and are going to be honest about what they do and are going to present the case honestly and not hide evidence. Like, when you blast open these files, you can't hide anything. Like, as soon as it hits a digital footprint, which it probably already has. Like, I don't suspect that it's just sitting in one file in the DOJ. I suspect it's been copied and pasted many times over, hopefully by Doge. It'd be the one good thing that they did. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that
but
would be the one good thing. But I
right,
also,
and you
like,
would
the
just
lawyers have
assume, you'd
pieces
assume
of the
like
files too.
Epstein did a little cut paste before he left the White House, right? That would
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, and
And so
I think too, it also reveals that this was going on a lot longer and still is going on
yeah,
with the president that we currently have. Like, he was actively involved with Epstein a lot later than was reported originally. Like,
yeah,
he was very much closer to Epstein up until his death. Um,
and they hated each other, but you have to understand, it's New York City and it's the billionaire clubs. Like, they can hate each other and not hang out, and they're always going to be at the same parties and events and
yeah,
know the same people and hang with the same people and be in the same circles. Like, it's unavoidable. When you go to New York City or you go to Washington D.C., and it's a club, right? It's a lot
yeah,
smaller than it seems. Like, you get here and it's like it's a little cozy. So I mean, clearly Epstein hated the guy, but Epstein also played his audience. He would hate whoever his audience hated. So whoever he was writing to, he hated the people that they hated. He knew how to
Yeah.
do that. But that's also how he got where he is. He played his audience and moved his way up through Wall Street. That's his shtick.
And so, well, thinking about the next step in all this, people who are still
Mhm.
alive. I
Yeah.
know you put out a note the other day that I saw that I'll put up also here for us. And don't worry, everyone, these notes will be in the show notes at the end. So you can go and take a look at them and make sure to like and restack and share what Ellie is writing and doing. Is staying with Virginia Giuffre, and that portion of it is
Mhm.
you brought to light that the New York Times is
Yeah.
holding their Deal Book Summit next month with Ehud Barak.
They are.
And I'd like to get your thoughts on that and
My
unvarnished
seething
opinion
anger.
and your scathing anger. But what does it say about New York Times as an institution and an organization? And what does it say about us as a, or what is it like? What do you think it says about New York Times as an institution that they are
Well,
actively promoting this individual?
I think it's not uncommon when you think of like major newspapers these days. There's very few that aren't just sucking into this world and getting what they can. Backing up a little bit, if people haven't heard me talk about this before, so the New York Times has a summit every December called the Deal Book. I transcribe all the panels and interviews for the Deal Book. I have gone to the Deal Book in the past. If they, potentially I could go this year if they have a press pass for me. I kind of think they're not going to let me go now because I've made a big stink, which is fine. So the Deal Book Conference is an event they've had every year, and it's like the biggest and best and most and richest in the room, speaking to the richest and the most and the biggest and the best in the room. It's a giant vacuum. It's like Kim Kardashian and Bill Clinton, and they're having like the co-founder of Palantir is coming this year, and like
Who's
Eric.
also in the Epstein files? One of the
Right.
co-founders, at least,
Right.
Peter Thiel.
No, it's the other one. It's the other guy.
Oh, okay.
He's no Peter Thiel's not going, which is they might as well just invite him. But like it's just a big. I mean, there's a lot of good people that go. Like Monica Lewinsky is going this year. I would love to sit and hear her speak. I think she's fantastic. I really like Prince Harry. I've worked with Prince Harry in the past. I really appreciate the things that he's done. But it really is just this giant vacuum of rich people speaking to rich people, and nothing is ever accomplished. And I've talked like the founder of Deal Book is Andrew Ross Sorkin. He knows me. I know him. I have talked to him on the phone before about like my concerns that the things that you talk about don't go anywhere. Like if the one time that I went, they had like David Zaslav and Bob Iger and all these major CEOs from film companies and Netflix and Disney, and they were speaking to a room full of millionaires like a week and a half or whatever after the strikes, when people didn't have health insurance or good paychecks. And I said, that room could have been filled with filmmakers. And when you brought in the CEO of GM or of General Motors, you could have brought in a bunch of like workers who actually work for the
Hmm.
factories and let them ask their questions. And he said, if we brought those people in, those speakers wouldn't come speak because they don't want to be asked those questions, but also like those people can't afford the tickets to pay for that speaker's salary to speak. And the tickets are $3,000 a chair, like for the day. So it is
It's a,
wildly expensive.
yeah.
Right. Right. And I absolutely, I go there and I'm just like, I don't fit in here at all. But this year they invited, and I was waiting for the list to drop because they just dropped the list. They invited Ehud Barak. Now, Ehud Barak is the former prime minister of Israel. He is going to this under the guise of talking about the Gaza-Israeli conflict, right? Which is a conversation that needs to be had. They need to have the conversation about Israel and Gaza. That's very pertinent. That matters globally. It
Yep.
matters in America. It needs to happen. There are 100 people that they could invite to talk about that who are knowledgeable, involved, have an effect on what happens, like other than this guy. This
Yeah.
guy if you go back to Virginia's book, in Virginia's book, she talks about in a chapter, I think it's called A Bridge Too Far, she talks about the most violent attack that she ever received on the island was from a well-known prime minister. And it is someone who left her unable to swallow or breathe for like weeks after because she was choked and she was unconscious and like she was bleeding from everywhere. Really, really, really horrible attack. She doesn't name the prime minister. There are only two prime ministers who were ever around Epstein. One's Ehud Barak, who was with him all the time, and one is Tony Blair, who was with him for one meeting for 30 minutes. And it was totally business related. It was like in London and it was with business people. Those are the two. Barak spent time at Epstein's house for like multiple occasions, lots of sleepovers at his apartment, at his island, in the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. Like they hung out a lot. There's a lot of backstory about the Israeli connection with Epstein and the money.
Yeah.
This is a very powerful person who is very close with Epstein. Now, if Virginia had never said that, that should be enough. The fact that he is in that much proximity to Epstein should be enough that the New York Times shouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And yet they're inviting him. So now you add on top of that, that this is the man who I have verified with sources. This is the prime minister who raped her. This is the one. This is verified. And you add that they know that. The New York Times knows that, and they are inviting him while all this is going on in Washington. That blew my mind. So I immediately emailed Andrew Ross Sorkin and I said, in the nicest, most respectful way that I can, what the hell are you doing? Like, why? I mean, objectively, why in this moment would this be the guy that you get to come and speak? Like, save yourself, be smart. Like, and then going into like, you guys, like, her book was a New York Times bestseller. That's you guys. So you guys have read her book. You know that this is who she's talking about. Why would you bring him in the room and pay to give this man a platform and not mention that he's in the Epstein files at all on this big, beautiful, glowing biography that you wrote underneath his name? Like, why would you do that? And I talked to him like he's an idiot. He's not. Andrew is one of the smartest people that I know.
Yeah.
But I talked to him like an idiot, like, hey, just so you know, here's this information. And normally he's a guy who writes back very thoroughly. He always writes back. He always answers quickly. He sometimes calls. And this time he said, I hear what you're saying and I understand, or something like that. Like very just like answer in a can. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I was really furious, if I'm honest. Like I was really angry, and and part of that is because it's just such a stupid and just one more corporate male platform that hurts women that is being given this like arena. But part of that is I've worked at the New York Times as a subcontractor for over a decade, and it was so violating. And I know that it's violating to the journalists that I've worked with because they have no control over that, and they are hardworking journalists, and they don't earn enough, and they don't sleep enough. But it was a big violation that this is happening, that they're taking that little consideration. And then as I'm digging through all these, files that came through this last week, I found out that when Jeffrey Epstein was taken out of the Dalton School, when he was fired and then hired by Ace Greenberg to go work at Bear Stearns and become this like finance bro, the New York Times also wanted to hire him at that time because they also had connections to the Dalton School. And so the same guy who's Punch Sulzberger, who owned the New York Times and wanted to hire Epstein back then, his grandson now owns the New York Times and runs it. So like there is a very deep connection to Epstein at the New York Times. I'm sure there is at many newspapers, but like it's just a big mush pot of corruption. And so here I am, I'm like, this is one of my biggest clients, right? Like I'm, I don't have a lot. I don't want to lose a job, but like I couldn't sit on that. I couldn't sit on that and be like, well, this is a bad choice, but like I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to screw up my job. Like, no, I'm going to say something because I don't care, right? I don't care. I don't want him to speak on the third. And so what can I do with my crummy little platform? Like, what can I do to tell people. So I just started emailing people. I just started telling people. And I got actually the biggest one I got back was E. Jean Carroll, because I had written an essay about this guy like a few weeks ago when I found out for sure that he was the prime minister in Virginia's book. I said, look, can you please read this? And what do? I need this information to go somewhere. And she's like, I'm sending it along to my people. So I don't know if anything will happen from that, but that's really great because people love E. Jean Carroll and they trust her and they're connected
Yes.
to her. Last night, Wajahat Ali from the Left Hook, he went on Piers Morgan and he sent me the link to the clip when he was speaking last night. And he got on there and he mentioned Ehud Barak. And I was just like, thank you for getting on there and saying something, because that's a huge platform. Like Piers Morgan, I don't like the guy, but he has a huge platform.
Yeah.
Like,
Massive platform.
like, I don't care where this information goes, but I need it to go to people who can say it with a louder bullhorn than I can, because he shouldn't be speaking anywhere. He shouldn't be stepping on American soil. He should be in jail. I mean, he should be
Yeah.
in jail. Like he's a child rapist. Like, and I have to continually say allegedly to save my own butt, but like I have verified sources who are very close to Virginia, who are very close to Epstein, who know this to be true and who have told me. And so I mean, I know that my sources are slim pickings compared to what the New York Times has access to. I know they know this information. And so I've spent the week just like doing as much as I can to just force this in front of people and be obnoxious about it, because it blows my mind that it's even happening. It's
Yeah.
like I want to like call the people who are going and being like, do you know who's going to speak with you? How do you feel about this? Like, it's really frustrating.
Is there, this is just a more random, is there a way that I put a note out soon after I saw this, and I think I restacked this one or one of your other ones about Ehud Barak, and I said we should just picket and protest the
I know.
New York Times book deal. Like there should be 1,000 people who sit outside with signs
Yeah.
that say Ehud Barak is a rapist,
Right.
Ehud Barak
But
is a
then,
pedophile.
right. And people have talked to me about like you should organize, get a permit, get a. But then what you run into is the narrative will be twisted into being something about the Gaza-Israeli conflict in our
Yes.
stance. Right. That's what people will twist it into. If they are the power behind Ehud Barak, they'll twist that narrative to say, you know, you're anti-Semitic, you don't support Israel, you don't support Jewish
I'm
people.
just
Like it,
gonna I'm just
nothing.
gonna put this Star of David out here just to
Right.
remind people that I am Jewish.
Right. Right. And Ehud Barak could be anybody from anywhere, from any religion, from any
Yeah.
country, from any conflict. Like he raped a child.
There's
Allegedly.
rapists who are
Right.
from Israel. There are rapists who are from Saudi
Right. There's
Arabia.
bad
There are
people from
rapists from
every
every
place,
country.
entire
Russia,
world. Right.
London, like it's all over the
Right.
world. The US, it's not
But
exclusively
he can use that
yeah.
to save himself right now. And you'll hear that a lot. You hear that from Alan Dershowitz right now. Anybody who speaks up against Alan Dershowitz, it's anti-Semitic right now. That's they're anti-Semitic. They don't like me. They don't like Israel. No, you're a child
We just
molester.
don't
Like
like you
we
out.
don't like child molesting. We don't like pedophilia. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing we don't like. So it's So it's the idea of a protest. Like I will probably go down there, whether or not I have a ticket or not, because if I have a ticket, I'm going to go in and ask questions if I can.
Yeah.
I will try to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to not show up because
Do they allow
I
filming
would.
inside from
Oh
like
yeah,
people who ask
oh yeah,
questions? So could you ask
yeah.
a question with your camera just
It's
standing there?
live streamed on YouTube. So
Ooh, you should
although
live
he's not,
stream it if you
yeah,
can get in, live stream it in
yeah,
response on Banner and Backbone and be like, hey,
yeah,
unedited, here's what's going on. This
I
asshole
will. But
speaking.
I also know. So Andrew Ross Sorkin, again, he's one of the smartest people I know. He never forgets your face or your name. And if I stand up and raise my hand, he's not going to call me. That
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's impossible. He would not call on me. So it's more that I have an article. I'm waiting for a second source to verify, because you have to have two sources to
Yep.
verify that he is indeed the person from her book. Once I get that, I'm going to be re-releasing the article, but I'm going to be sending it to like different publishers through different people. Cause like I said, my voice is small, but I know people now. I feel like I've gotten close enough to people now that they're offering to pass it along to the people they know, and they have a bigger, they have more credibility than I do. So that would be my next step. But I just feel like the clock is ticking. That's my thing, because this is on
Yeah.
December 3rd. And I just don't know. Like it's consuming. Like I really just think about it all the time, and I just can't believe it.
Yeah. It's hard to fathom why New York Times is actually doing this, because
It's really
it's
stupid.
so stupid. Just
Like
the,
if you're corrupt and horrible, that's one thing, but this is a really, really dumb move. Because if you
yeah,
open
like,
up those files and you're sitting there with the guy on your stage, you knew what was in there. We all knew. I'm not
yeah.
an
And you
overly
paid this
intelligent
guy to
person.
be there.
Yeah,
Like,
like $1 million. Like
they're giving
he
this
stole
guy a
my
lot of
money.
money to
Yeah.
espouse whatever he wants to say with
Mhm.
whatever uh, biases he's going to put in.
Right.
He's a child rapist and he's a pedophile, and that
Mhm.
should be the end of it. Like, allegedly, but more than like 99.99%
No,
sure
he
is a
allegedly
child
actually
rapist.
did this.
Yeah, he
Allegedly.
allegedly actually did it,
I allegedly
and
actually did this.
just like Alan
Yeah.
Dershowitz allegedly actually did what he did.
Right.
It's pretty obvious these people are disgusting. And Ellie, you have clout. I think you've earned it. Like Mason says in
Yeah.
our chat, is you've earned the clout that you're getting because you're truthful, you're honest, you put really good information out, and you tell the facts, and people trust what you're saying. And I think one of the things too that we're going to be doing again, so everybody knows, is Ellie and I are talking a little in the background about making the Powerful Voices a fully permanent, like, weekly show on Ellie's schedule to get this information out every Wednesday if we can. I know today's Thursday, but every Wednesday, because that's normally the day that it's easiest for Ellie, is so that we can get this out, because there is limited time and there's limited amount of resources that we have. And especially with the more folks in the chat, like there's 168 of you here with us right now on Substack. If you all tagged somebody who was important about this information, that person's going to get super annoyed that they're getting tagged all the time, and
Yeah.
they're gonna
Like
look at the article
Right.
that is being tagged for them, and they're finally going to go, okay, fine, I should just freaking read this.
Right.
And they're going to read it, and they're going to find everything out. So start tagging the creators that you think need to see this, or people that need to see this.
Yeah, I'd really like I would really love to speak with, Waj. I'd love to speak to Waj about this, but I'd love to speak to like Jim Acosta about this, because he's got such a
I can
great
see if I
network.
can get Waj on to speak with you.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
talked
that
to him
would
a
be-
couple times, so I can.
Yeah.
I'll definitely reach
Well,
out.
when he sent me that thing last night, I was like, okay, he sees this. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
This is great. This is really good. That made me very happy. I just, like Olivia Troy, if you know Olivia Troy, she contacted me about it, and so she knows what's going on. Like there's people who know. Eugene Carroll knows. I just needed to go. Like I just needed to move, and I needed to move quickly, and just yeah.
Are there ways, or would any of them be open to coming on with us and discussing it openly, like you and I do here with? Where we've had Zev on before to discuss these in depth with you, and just use this as a connection and open portal. Would you be willing to reach out to them and ask about it? Because I
could
think
try.
if we
Yeah,
could
well,
have more voices, the better.
Yeah, because it's funny, because I was supposed to be on that like big live stream on, what was it, Tuesday? When did they? Yeah. And my name was at the top, but I was like not on it, and it was like a technical glitch. The link didn't go out, so it's kind of funny, because I was like, I'm just gonna troll the comments, but we're gonna do that again. Like we'll get those people together again and like try that over again. But so the connections are there. It's just in my head. It's just the time. It's just the clock is ticking. We don't have no time, and I want him obviously not to speak, but I want the New York Times to acknowledge why he's not speaking. I don't want it to just like quietly disappear from their lineup. Like I want them to say, we removed this guy because A, B, C, and D.
Standing for something.
Yes, like don't be quiet. Like stop being quiet. Why are all these people who like have zero credibility, just shouting their lungs out, and the people who have actual power and money and legal representation behind them are totally quiet.
Yeah.
Like, what a
Like
waste.
Ellie and I have no credibility before this.
Not a
I mean,
bit.
Ellie has credibility before this because she's been an
Not much.
investigate, but you've at least been there and at least know
Hmm.
some of these folks. Like I came out of nowhere in
Yeah.
July. Like I got
Right.
fired from my old job and I was just pissed the fuck off. And our credibility is coming from everyone in the chat and people who are sharing our work. And Ellie,
Yeah.
you're still a much bigger platform than I am.
Well,
And I just
it's
use my
one big
space to
happy
boost.
family. What are
Yeah,
we?
we're all one happy. We're not competing against each other, and
Right.
that's the
Right.
good thing. It's like I'm not
Yeah, it's been a
competing with.
lot of like lifting up each other. So it's like, because somebody will like invite me to come talk and they're bigger than I am, and
Mm-hmm,
then like somebody else will pop up in my DMs and be like, who I've never heard of, and they're like, would you talk to me? And I'm like, sure, let's go talk. Like it's a lot of like paying it forward. Like someone help me so I can help you, and there's just so much great information. Like I was very tiny 6 months ago. No one had ever heard of me or read my stuff,
mm-hmm.
and I felt like it was very important. And so people, I think the first way things started moving is like the Lincoln Project saw some of my stuff and just started sharing it. And that
Yeah,
really helped me. Like that helped me grow. It helped people read my writing. And they're still really great. But like if I can do that as I move on up in the world, then I'm gonna do that to help other people because there's a lot of writers who are also lost in the shuffle. So it takes a minute.
yeah, yeah. And it's the whole point of this is so everybody gets to hear what each other has to say. I would have never met Ellie had I not come on to Substack, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't be here giving you all this and like talking with Ellie and lifting her voice up as best I can. Um, if we hadn't connected on Substack and I just reached out and we we're at a point where we need to move as fast as possible. And I'm starting to talk about this a lot with like Centered America and teams
Yeah.
like that on how do we create a 30 like a as Stephanie Wilson called it, the tricentennial action group or tag
Mhm.
You're It for Democracy, and how we can create a that's my new catchphrase is tag You're It
Yeah,
for Democracy.
that
Um,
works. That's easy to
is
remember.
how do we translate like the work that you're doing and the work that Zev is doing into actionable things that we can hold people accountable for,
Mhm.
improve our way of life just in general in America? Because let's admit it, our lives will be a lot better when a bunch of pedophiles are not running our government or controlling our media or controlling our technology or our military industrial complex.
Right.
And so, how do you see your work really fitting into that picture and
Um,
getting the news out?
I would like to eat the rich, for the record.
Eat,
That's part of
eat
it.
them. Yep.
The rich. Um, I think it's all hand in hand. Like I think those two things go together. When you get an overabundance of money, you get an overabundance of power, and then you start to see the abuse of children. Like all that stuff just it's very rarely that one doesn't lead to the other. There's a political future behind that, and how to break that up and stop that from happening. That we will have to vote in good people who, like, I think Mom Donnie is a great start for that kind of a thing, but we need more Mom Donnies. Like we need more people who are willing to do things for people in the bottom 99% and less for the people in the top 1%. Um, I am going to continue writing. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue writing, continue researching. Um, when I'm able and things are within traveling distance, I'm going to go see them firsthand and go talk to people and continue to reach out until I'm connected with the people who can then, I mean, like I said, it's Substack has made a huge difference in the way that we reach out to people that we look up to in journalism and in writing. Like I can reach out to a Jim Acosta, or I can like go to an event that that some of these people are at. Like this stuff exists, and it doesn't feel like it's so far away anymore. That it's made things feel a lot closer and safer and accessible, which then gives you confidence in your own work and your writing and your ability to like pass along information. And so I'm just going to continue doing it. My goal is to do it, I hope, over like the holiday break. I'm hoping that I can just do this full time. That is my goal. The last probably 3 weeks have been really, really powerful, have showed me a lot about what I'm capable of. And so that is the goal. I can't guarantee it, but like I've had, people come to me who are bigger and better than me that want to like pull me into the fold, and these are people who have like insurance to cover what I say, so like that I
Yeah.
don't have to be so like allegedly all the time. Like I can just say the things that I know and I've researched and I have sources and I can verify. Like I can just say that stuff and not be worried about people coming after me and going, I'm going to sue you, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing will be covered. So that's really good. That opens me up to being able to say more. I have been very blessed to have people come to me and say like, I trust you, and and want to talk. And again, I don't consider myself a journalist. I consider myself a storyteller. I really, really, really try to write stories. And by stories, I don't mean like fiction. I mean write someone's story in a way that again supports and gives the bullhorn to like victims first, or survivors first, um, but also like listen to them so that I can be a safe space, right? Like think about the way that I word things and the way that I listen to someone and the way that I write something. And if they tell me something, like asking them, how do you feel about me saying this? And would you like to look at this? And if I said this, do I include you or are you anonymous? Like really just being this sort of safe room for people who either have or haven't talked about their stories before, because it's a slow and steady process. But you know, it's scary for me sometimes. So I cannot imagine how frightening it is for the people who are actually involved in this case. Like
Yeah.
the money and power is astounding. That's why I say when they open up these files, if they do it truthfully, and if people have access to every piece of this financially and otherwise, um, it's everyone at the top. Very few people are not a part of this. So like I can't imagine trying to go up against someone like that as a Virginia Giuffre who was like, had no money, had no support, had no legal. Like, how do you even begin to do that? I don't know. I don't. It's really brave.
I think we're finding how to do that in real time. Like
Yeah.
how, as non-survivors, as people who are auxiliary to this, and our interest is finding the truth and getting
Mhm.
accountability out, ensuring that this doesn't ever happen again. Like I
Right.
said, I would rather prevent this from ever happening again, so we never have to ask the question, when does a survivor or a victim become an abuser? Because that should never get to that point. Like we
Yeah.
should never have
Yeah.
to worry about that, because these
It's
abusers should be held accountable.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
you and I both have kids going into this world, right? Our kids are going to be the next generation of adults and
yeah,
politicians and people in the arts. And I,
and we're the current generation. Like, what does
right,
it say about us that we want, that we're allowing this as
right.
generations, as the living generation, to have this happen? Like, what does it say
Yeah.
to us
It
that?
is, yeah, it's a big, big story. And I mean, for as wild and crazy as it is, and as much as I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's like the one thing in how many years that everybody agrees on, like
Yeah,
of any, I mean, and that is, I mean, as horrible as it is, that's really, really refreshing. But I also think like our brains are broken a little bit because we can't relax into that and be like, oh, that's so wonderful. Like there's always suspicion. Like when is the other shoe going to drop? Like I don't,
yeah,
Donald Trump signing the Epstein bill, I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe that he doesn't have a plan. I don't believe that there isn't something shady going on behind closed doors. I don't believe that, because if that was the case, he would have been a hero and dropped that years ago, because he would have
yeah,
been the shining star on the hill if he had done that. He didn't do it. He's refused to do it. He's been resistant to do it. He's called it a hoax. You don't hide something that isn't, or what is it? He who has nothing to hide hides nothing, right? Like he has fought this,
yeah,
and so why fight so hard, right? You don't fight something that doesn't exist.
yeah. And Pam Bondi coming out going, the other day. I have new information on
Right.
information about
Yeah, it's like, say
information.
information again.
Yeah, how many times can you say information in one friggin'
I
sentence?
know.
Like,
They must
it's
hate
not the
their
word
lives so
buffalo.
much. Right. I can't imagine how badly they hate their lives right now. Like they're so screwed. Like
Yeah,
their political future and what like they're screwed. The
their
only
legal
way,
futures,
right, the only way that they can come out on top of this is to become like a, take this for
a
what you will,
whistleblower.
become like a Michael Cohen though. Like a shady person who comes forward and does the right thing and then kind of nobody trusts them for a long time. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing they can do is leak and write a book and say this was what was going on the whole time. And you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of people in the next few weeks saving themselves and
Yeah.
just like doing weird things to like
So I've got
turn
two
on.
questions on saving
Okay.
themselves.
Okay.
There's the obvious question is around Michael Wolff. Is
Yeah.
what are your opinions there?
Mhm.
I know you've spoken about your opinions there with some other with like Fred Pogue and stuff,
Mm.
but I definitely want to hear what your opinion is on what Michael Wolff did. Do you think he was conspiring in ways with Epstein? Do you think he was sucked into that or became part of the institution that he was supposedly fighting against? Um,
Right.
do you think he has culpability, or do you think he's doing
Yeah.
the right thing?
No, I think he has culpability. I think he probably went into it with sort of good intentions. But this is something I've mentioned, like that I fear for myself is you hear these stories of people who infiltrate the KKK and like live in the KKK as a KKK member in order to get a good story. We are not wired to not bond with people. Like humans are we live in community. We are not singular beings. We will find ways to bond with the people around us if we are around them long enough. And so it was a really dangerous territory for him to spend breakfasts and occasions and time and weeks and going to Epstein's house and filming him and talking to him. You cannot sit and talk to anyone for 100 hours without starting to get to know them really well and find things you have in common and look forward to it the next time. Like that would be nearly impossible unless you were a sociopath yourself and you could totally emotionally like pull yourself away from that. And that's a
Yeah,
different story. Um, if as long term as his project was with Epstein, which inevitably would have been longer had Epstein not been arrested and died in jail, it overstepped. In the lowest terms, it overstepped the line of good journalism. And again, he can come back at me and say like, "Well, you're not a journalist. What do you know?" And that's fine. I'm not a journalist. You can say that. Um, we talk about Donald Trump and his excuses of like why he hung out with Epstein for so long was because he was feeding information to the FBI and he was helping get him caught. Like you don't sit back and on your heels and watch someone who is an abuser live an abusive lifestyle and see naked women going by and look at the pictures of him of young girls on Trump's you don't look at all these things for 5 years and try to get a scoop, right? The second you have any sort of information that a guy is part of a sex trafficking ring or a money laundering ring, you go and you report. You don't hang on to it. You don't wait for a book deal. When he says that no one would take his interviews, he goes, "Oh, I tried. I tried to give it to publishers. I tried to give it to newspapers. No one would take it." Those are all paid deals. Like he doesn't need to have a paid deal. He can go on Google Drive, he can go drop those files, and he can go make them public tonight, right?
yeah.
He wanted a paid deal out of it, and he didn't get one. And so I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I really, really have looked up to his journalism and the stories that he writes for a long time. I really have liked the things that he's written. It's been a little bit of you know, a moral conundrum. But I've also talked to people that I really like and looked up to in journalism and talked to them offline about like, how do you feel about this? And they said, he's slippery. Like that's the word everybody uses. He's real slippery. And the people that I've talked to offline who were survivors said that like they all hated him because he sat there and he sat on his heels and he wanted to make money off this story. And nobody wanted it from him, first off, so he didn't get to. But like, it wasn't good journalism and it wasn't good storytelling because you tell a story and you keep a scoop until it starts to hurt somebody. If somebody's
Hmm.
being hurt, you stop and you make that your priority and your focus. So and I think other people, like without naming names, I think other people have done that in this story too. I think there have been journalists along the way who've done the exact same thing, who've gotten too close and for too long because they wanted the story, and knew very well what was going on. I mean, you're dealing with people who are up, like Epstein was a level 3 sex offender. When everybody was doing these stories, he had that, he had that title already and he had the reputation and people already knew what he was doing. So just because he's not in front of you doing it doesn't mean that he's not doing it. I mean, people knew who Epstein was.
Yeah.
And so it's a choice. It's a real big choice. And other than on the Daily Beast, which is where Michael Wolff hangs out most of his time, he has gone pretty radio silent on Substack. And a lot of the people who were getting close to him, like I was 1 degree away from it. I was really excited because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to talk to Michael Wolff. I've always wanted to. Like those interviews are my holy grail as a transcriber.
Hmm.
I will do them for free. Like I would love to type them up. And the second that email dropped that showed him advising Epstein, he has gone really quiet and he's
Yeah.
not called people back who are interviewing him. I
He
think
was very
people,
hostile with Don Lemon
that
when
was
Don
fabulous.
had him on.
I'm not gonna lie, I love that interview. That's a
Oh,
great
it
interview.
was so funny to watch. He was hostile,
I was
but
like, I love Don Lemon, arrogant bastard, love him to death. That was a fabulous interview, and I liked it because you have a guy who's sat back on his heels and very kind of been very like quiet and in the most beautiful decor. His wife's decor is fabulous. Like sat and quietly and unemotionally told this story piece and piece and piecemeal. And he got emotional, and I was just like, I think I needed to see that. I needed to see this guy get
hmm,
emotional because like he's just been this stoic, like uncaring for the in the best way, uncaring person talking about the nitty gritty details of the story. And so that interview was like my favorite that I've watched in a really long time. I thought Don Lemon did a great job. Um, but now you have to think about, because the story was, before that was happening, the story was that he was being sued by Melania Trump and he was countersuing Melania Trump.
hmm.
That was the big story, and he set up a GoFundMe, and people donated $800,000 to him to pay for his lawyer. And I think people had a lot of buyer's remorse after that because they said, you were not completely honest about your position, despite what information you have on Melania Trump. It could very well be true, but
Yeah.
like you're culpable too. So why now do you have everybody's money to pay for your lawyers when he's a wealthy guy? I mean, like I don't know that he has eight hundred
He
thousand
doesn't really
dollars in
need the
excess
extra
cash, but
money.
like right, like I just yeah, there's so much moral dilemma in that situation, and it brings up the conversation about what is good journalism, especially in a story that is about child abuse. Like you don't mess around when it's about child abuse. You don't make money off it. Like I feel weird when I'm writing a story about Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm really grateful, but when like people really like it and they start doing like paid subscriptions, I'm like, did I just make money off a story about children being abused? Like I don't want those two things to be connected because it feels uncomfortable to me because I don't want that to be the case. So I try to like use my
I
money
think
in
the
good ways
difference
and
for
like
you is you're making money off of reporting and telling and connecting the truth in real time. And you're not holding it in secret. You're not
right.
hiding it. You're not keeping it back from everybody. You are actively just putting it out there, like you said,
Hmm.
for free. And people are giving back to you for the effort that you're putting in.
Yeah.
And I think that's more what it is. I hope you go away thinking that a little
Yeah.
bit instead of blaming
Yeah.
yourself on
I
like,
know.
God, this
No, and I
sucks.
know. I know. I just don't want to be in that same room because there
Oh,
there are
agreed.
people there are people in journalism, there are people in the legal field who are very much involved with this case, to make money and because it's big, right? There are people who are representing victims right now
Mhm.
who are not there for the right reasons.
Yes.
Um, and and I don't like that. I mean, I don't like that because the result, like you look at David Boies and what he did with Alan Dershowitz and Virginia Giuffre, that's what happens, right? That's the result of something like that. And so I try to just really pull back as far as I can from that world and just continue to tell the stories. That's why I came here in the first place. That's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm really grateful to the people who have helped me do that. And so I'm just going to keep doing that. That's,
Good. Good.
yeah.
And I'm glad you do, and I want you to. And I'm going to shift over to our QR codes because it is important that we make the distinction and we support Ellie's work, because the work that Ellie's doing, the work that folks like Zev Shalev are doing, they can't be done without support from everybody. Like, Ellie needs the support so she can become a full-time
Yeah.
investigative journalist in her way. I know you don't like the word journalist because you don't think you've earned it,
Well,
but you're a
right. Yeah.
muckraker
Okay.
you're a muckraker to the, like, the most prime of that meaning, which is you rake through the muck and you find the truth and you report it. And I
Yeah.
think people are giving back to you and should continue to give back to you for that work. And that money is better well spent on Ellie than on someone like Michael
Well,
Wolf, who already has money. Um,
and
and
just
it's
know that,
better.
like, without saying, because I don't like to like announce when you are charitable because I think that's weird. But I use the money that I make. We pay it forward in ways that benefit people who need it. Like, that's really important to
Yeah.
our family. So part of the money that I make goes then on to other things that help. And I think that's what I like to do. But I was going to say, kind of back to, like, just to your point a minute ago, I think, like, my platform's building, whatever it is, what it is. I think it's really good, though, that it's also small, because in a lot of these things, and with people talking to me who are very important, no one sees me coming, right?
Hmm.
They're not sitting in the Oval Office going, "Look out for Ellie." Alan Dershowitz is not like afraid. What will Ellie write? Like, nobody knows I'm coming because nobody knows who I am. And I think that's great. I think that's the great part of independent journalism is, like, you can't keep track of it. You can be mad at all the people on CNN, you can know their names, you can take away their press passes. You can't do that for independent journalism. There's too many of us and you don't know who we
Hmm.
are, and we can do just as good work or better than, like,
Or
CNN. We
better.
don't have we
Yeah.
we don't have a muzzle, right? And so I think that benefits people is, like, they don't see us coming, and God bless. We're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah. So even with paid subscriptions, help Ellie become a get full time in this,
Yeah.
and that she can stay under the radar in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Even full time, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
she has to
That
be
just
over
gives
the
me more
radar.
time. Like, right. That
Yeah.
just gives me more time. Like, I shove a lot into a few hours after work, after my kids go to bed. I do a lot of, like, really, really fast research to get as much as I
Hmm.
done as I can. I have enough work in my hard drive to do several weeks worth of 12-hour days. Like, there's so much to get through and so much to write about, and I have multiple stories for multiple different things that need to get covered, that are some are big, some are medium. I have a lot of stuff I just have to get through, and it's just a time thing. It's like, yeah, I have to go to work all day right now, which is good. I'm glad I have that. But, like, if I don't have to do that, then I can fully devote my day and just getting all this stuff out.
Yeah. And if you're already a paid subscriber to Ellie, she has a buy me a coffee. And so give her a tip, help her
Thank
out
you.
in whatever ways you can. Banner and Backbone approved, but also just a good friend who's doing a lot of really
Yeah,
good
thank
work.
you. Yep, back at you.
And I want her to succeed. So go give subs to Ellie. And then if you've got anything left over for me, come support me at Sick of This Shit
Yeah,
Publications,
go get Nick.
where
Go
I
get
where I do
Nick.
a lot of chronic illness stuff and other, like, community
Yeah.
building. And that's my home, and I'm still under the radar too. I get
Hmm.
to say a lot of things that other people don't. and I say them proudly and boldly. And that's on Sick of This Shit and here on Banner and Backbone. Like, support this network so that we can be the under the radar but overly powerful voices of the true majority in this country. Like,
Yeah.
we're advocating for simple things here. We don't
Right.
want too much. We want pedophiles gone. We want a working democracy that respects and values pro dignity and pro life. And we want people to be held accountable when they commit horrendous crimes. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Feels simple,
Feels
doesn't
simple.
it?
And help us get there instead of paying Michael Wolf and
Right.
paying for legal bills that somebody can already pay for. Help us pay for food and for upgrades so that we can get you better content and more information.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can get Ellie full time doing all sorts of shit and get her even bigger offers and different appearances and use our network to help her bolster her connections, because that's what I like doing. Is I like connecting people.
You're good. You're a good PR person.
So, oh yeah, and I love building people up. Like,
you did a good job.
I just enjoy doing that for folks. So
Good.
thank you, Ellie. Thank you, everyone
Bye
in the
for having
crowd,
me.
for being with us today. Appreciate all 216 of you here on Substack with us. Incredible audience, as always. Great chat. Thank you, everyone. Let's go have some powerful voices and keep Epstein in the news, keep the Trump files in the news, and ensure that we hold these people accountable. So thanks,
Please.
Ellie. Appreciate it
Bye, guys.
so much.